Have you ever woken up from a dream and just thought, what in the world was that? We've all been there. These bizarre, totally private movies that our brains cook up every single night. But what if I told you they're not just random noise? Well, let's dive in, because the real science of your dreams is so much stranger and way more important than you might think. Okay, I know, that sounds completely extreme, right? But that's a direct quote from a leading sleep scientist, and it's the scientific consensus. The state you're in when you dream, well, if it happened while you were awake, people would be seriously concerned. But here's the paradox. This nightly madness isn't just normal, it's absolutely essential. It's critical for your mental and emotional health. So, the big question is, why? Why would evolution program our brains to go through this bizarre ritual every single night? That's exactly what we're going to figure out. So, before the main feature really gets going, you have to pass through this strange in-between space. It's called hypnagogia. You know that feeling, right? When you're not quite awake but not fully asleep either, and your thoughts start to get all fragmented and weird? That's it. And during this phase, a lot of us see the same kinds of things, these pulsing geometric patterns like lattices or cobwebs, or that feeling of flying down a tunnel. You can almost think of them as the opening credits to the movie your brain is about to play. One cool theory is that this is just your brain's way of keeping the visual part of your mind active, kind of like a screensaver to protect its territory while your eyes are closed. Once you pass through that doorway, you enter REM sleep. And this is the main stage for dreaming. This is where things get really, really wild. Your brain just lights up. In a lot of ways, it's just as active as it is when you're wide awake. This right here is why scientists use that word psychosis. Just think about what happens in a dream. You hallucinate, you see things that aren't there, you're delusional, you 100% believe you can fly, you're disoriented, you have no clue what time it is or where you really are, your emotions are all over the map, and then, the final kicker, you wake up and forget almost all of it. Total amnesia.
So what's actually happening in your head to cause all this? Well, if you look at a brain scan, it's pretty clear. The parts of your brain for emotion, for memory, for vision, they are firing on all cylinders. But here's the absolute key. The part in charge of logic and rational thought, the prefrontal cortex, it's pretty much switched off. It's gone offline for the night. And that is why your dreams feel so incredibly real and emotional, but make absolutely zero logical sense.
Which, of course, leads to a fair question. Why would we evolve a system that's so bizarre? Well, it turns out this controlled chaos isn't a bug in the system. It's a critical feature, and it serves a couple of profound purposes that are essential for our waking lives. So what are they? Yeah, all that nightly weirdness really boils down to two main jobs. Think of it as your brain's very own overnight maintenance crew clocking in to do some incredibly important work so you're ready for the next day. Job number one. Your dreams are a form of overnight therapy. It's like emotional first aid. During REM sleep, your brain replays difficult memories. But, and here's the magic, it does so in a neurochemical state that's very low in stress. This lets the brain process the memory and, basically, disconnect the painful emotion from it. So you get to keep the lesson, but you lose the hurt. And the evidence for this is just incredible. This one study is a perfect example. A researcher followed people going through a really painful divorce, and she found that the only people who recovered from their depression were the ones who were dreaming about the emotional themes of what they were going through. Their brains were literally healing them overnight. All right, the second major job is creative problem solving. See, with that logical brain offline, your mind is free to make connections it would never make during the day. It just smashes together distant, unrelated ideas to see what happens. This fuzzy logic is an absolute engine for creativity. There are studies showing that people who dream about a difficult maze are 10 times more likely to solve it the next day. Their brain literally found the answer for them while they slept. Okay, so we know dreams are essential, but that doesn't stop them from being strange or, sometimes downright terrifying. So how can we navigate this inner world? And what happens when things go wrong? Well, when that overnight therapy system doesn't quite work, when it fails to strip the anxiety from a memory, that's a nightmare. A nightmare is essentially the system failing at its job. You're left stuck with all of that raw, painful emotion. But here's the really good news. Nightmares are highly treatable. A technique called image rehearsal therapy is amazingly effective. It lets you become the script writer. You actually write down the nightmare, but then you consciously rewrite a different, more neutral ending. Then, while you're awake, you just rehearse that new script.
Over time, you can effectively edit that bad memory file in your brain.
Now, on the complete other end of the spectrum, there's this fascinating thing that can happen where you become aware inside the dream. You have that moment of, hey, I'm dreaming. This is called lucid dreaming, and it opens up the wild possibility of actually taking control of the story. But there's a bit of a debate in the scientific community about this. While the idea of controlling your dreams is super appealing, some research suggests it might come at a price. The theory is that when you go lucid, you're re-engaging that rational part of your brain, the exact part that's supposed to be resting. And by doing that, you might be short-circuiting the therapeutic work of the dream, which could leave you feeling less refreshed. The jury is definitely still out.
So, after all this, what do we do about interpreting our dreams? People have used dream dictionaries for centuries, but modern science says something different. Your dreams are built from your unique memories, your emotions, and your life experiences. So that means the world's foremost expert on what your dream means is you. So here's the big takeaway. Your dreams are not just random brain static. They are a deeply personal, incredibly functional, and therapeutic process. They are a window into what your brain is working on while you sleep. So the next time you wake up from some strange dream, maybe don't just dismiss it. Pay attention. What is your mind trying to tell you?